Video opens on a hyper-detailed, black and white ink drawing. A lone, skeletal figure in ornate, thorned armor stands atop a desolate peak. A sea of clouds churns below him. The wind howls softly. The camera slowly pushes in on his horned helmet. Voiceover. There is a sickness of the soul that afflicts the strong, the ambitious, the ones who carry the heaviest burdens. It is a frantic energy, a desperate need to solve every problem the moment it appears. To extinguish every fire, to silence every cry, to win every skirmish. You feel it in your gut. A constant, low-grade panic that you are falling behind. That if you stop moving, even for an instant, the entire world you have built will collapse into ruin. We will call this affliction the tyranny of the now. It is the illusion that the most immediate threat is the most important one. And it is the single greatest obstacle standing between the man you are and the man you are destined to become. But there is a cure. It is a philosophy forged over 1,000 years of war and loss, embodied by a single, deathless figure. Stay with me, and I will show you how the wisdom of the Skull Knight can teach you to shatter the chains of the present, and play the long game against fate itself. Phase 2. The problem. Visual. A close-up on a character's face, etched with lines of stress. Their eyes dart back and forth, reflecting a dozen different worries. The cross-hatching is dense, creating a feeling of claustrophobia. You know this feeling intimately. You wake up and the assault begins. The email notification is a war horn. The text message is a summons. The deadline is a guillotine hanging over your day. Your mind becomes a battlefield, and you are a lone soldier, rushing from one breach in the wall to the next, armed with nothing but adrenaline and fleeting focus. You feel the pressure to react, to respond immediately, to prove your competence, your reliability, your strength. You tell yourself this is diligence. This is responsibility. But look deeper. Look past the pride of being busy. What is the feeling underneath? It is the cold, gnawing dread of being out of control. You are not the commander of your life. You are its most overworked servant. You are a puppet, and your strings are pulled by the whims of others, by the demands of the moment, by the shallow emergencies that scream for your attention. Think of it. You have a critical project, a true test of your skill, that requires deep, uninterrupted thought. But a colleague panics over a trivial error, and you spend 2 hours calming their fears and fixing their mistake. You have a goal to finally get your health in order, but a minor family drama erupts, and you spend your evening mediating a conflict that will be forgotten by next week. You sacrifice the important for the urgent. Every single time. You are patching holes in a sinking ship, too busy bailing water to ever look up and see the storm that is causing the waves. And here is the hidden cost, the terrible price you pay for this servitude to the present. By fighting these endless small fires, you are using up the very fuel you need to fight the real war. The war for your soul. The war against the fundamental patterns, the deep-seated wounds, the God hand of your own life that orchestrates these crises to keep you distracted, weak, and enslaved to the flow of causality. You are so focused on the trembling of the leaves that you have forgotten to check if the roots of the tree are rotten. And while you fight shadows on the wall, the true beast that casts them grows stronger in the dark, feeding on your wasted energy, your squandered potential, and your deferred dreams. Phase 3. The solution. Visual. The Skull Knight, a silhouette against a swirling vortex of souls. His cape billows. He is unmoving, a statue of purpose amidst chaos. The camera pans to his sword, a terrifying weapon made of crystallized beherits. To break this cycle, we must turn our gaze from the battlefield of the everyday to the grand, cosmic chessboard of existence. And on that board, there is no greater master of the long game than the Skull Knight. For 1,000 years, he has waged a singular war against the ultimate arbiters of fate, the God Hand. He does not engage in petty skirmishes. He does not allow himself to be drawn into the endless, churning struggles of mankind. He is a creature of terrifying patience, a being who has transcended the tyranny of the now. His philosophy, his very existence, is our solution. We shall call it the Long Defiance. The Long Defiance is the art of strategic patience elevated to a metaphysical principle. It is the understanding that true power does not lie in reacting to the currents of fate, but in anticipating their flow, and waiting for the one, perfect moment to strike at their source. Let us break down this profound wisdom into its core principles. First is the principle of temporal distance. Visual. A stunning shot pulling back from the Skull Knight on his peak, revealing the entire world below him. Mountains and rivers look like etchings on a map. The timescale feels immense. You see your life as a series of frantic, disconnected days. The Skull Knight sees his as a single, unbroken line stretching across a millennium. He has cultivated the ability to zoom out, to view time not as a prison, but as a landscape. From this vantage point, the raging fires of today's crisis become mere flickers in the distance. The mountains of anxiety shrink into molehills. This is not apathy, it is perspective. It is the ability to distinguish between a temporary, churning rapid in the river, and the river's true, deep, underlying current. From a distance, you see the destination, and the thousand trivial currents that try to pull you off course lose their power. Second is the principle of causal focus. Visual. A close-up on the Skull Knight's helmet. In the reflection of his empty eye sockets, we see the faces of the God Hand, Void, Slan, Ubik, Conrad, and Femto. They are the target. A lesser warrior would have spent centuries hunting the apostles, the demonic servants of the God Hand. It would have been a bloody, endless, and ultimately meaningless crusade. Because for every apostle he struck down, another would be born. He would be fighting the symptoms, not the disease. The Skull Knight, however, understands causality. He knows the apostles are but the rotten fruit of a poisoned tree. His focus is absolute. He directs all his energy, all his will, toward a single objective: the destruction of the God Hand themselves. The source of the suffering. In your life, this means you must stop battling the endless apostles of your core problem, your anxiety, your procrastination, your self-sabotage, and identify the God Hand that spawns them. Is it a deep-seated belief that you are unworthy? A traumatic memory that dictates your reactions? A toxic environment that poisons your spirit? That is your target. All else is a distraction. And third, the principle of the ripening moment. Visual. The Skull Knight, on his phantom steed, charging through a maelstrom. He raises his Behelit sword, which tears a hole in reality itself. It is a single, decisive action. Patience, for the Skull Knight, is not passive waiting. It is the most active state of being. It is 1,000 years of observation, of preparation, of forging the perfect weapon, of studying the enemy, all in anticipation of a single instant. He calls this a nexus or an eclipse, a moment where the rigid laws of causality become fluid, where a single, well-placed action can ripple outwards and change the course of destiny. He does not waste his strength on battles that cannot be won. He conserves his power, his will, his very essence, for the one moment where it will matter most. He knows that striking 1,000 times at a wall of iron is futile, but waiting for the precise moment to strike the single, hidden crack can bring the entire fortress down. To understand this, imagine your life as a city plagued by fires. Most people adopt the tyranny of the now. They become firefighters, rushing from blaze to blaze, exhausted, celebrated for their efforts, but never truly changing the city's fate. They are too busy fighting the flames to ask why so many fires are starting. The Skull Knight is not a firefighter. He is a seismologist. He ignores the house fires. He ignores the panicked crowds. He climbs to the highest mountain and studies the tectonic plates beneath the city. He understands that the fires are mere symptoms of a deeper, catastrophic pressure building in the Earth's crust. He spends his time not with a bucket of water, but with a map and a compass, calculating the precise location of the fault line. He forges a tool not to douse a flame, but to redirect an earthquake. And when the ground begins to tremble, when the ripening moment arrives, he makes a single, calculated move that alters the geological destiny of the entire region. The firefighters save a house. The Skull Knight saves the future. This is the Long Defiance. This is the path out of the tyranny of the now. Phase 4. The application. Visual. The scene shifts from the epic fantasy world to a more grounded, internal one. We see the silhouette of a person sitting in a dark room, deep in thought. The intricate ink work details their internal struggle. This philosophy is not the sole property of deathless knights. It is a weapon that you can forge for yourself, here, in the mud and blood of your own reality. It requires discipline. It requires courage. It requires you to defy the screaming urgency of the present moment. Here is your training. Here is how you begin to practice the Long Defiance. Step 1. Conduct a causal audit. Identify your God hand. Visual. A hand, drawn in stark detail, writes on a piece of parchment with a quill. The words are abstract, representing core fears: fear of failure, unworthiness, imposter syndrome. Tonight, I want you to sit in a quiet room, with nothing but a piece of paper and a pen. And you will ask yourself a question of terrifying clarity. What is the one recurring pattern, belief, or circumstance in my life that, if it were resolved, would cause the greatest number of my other problems to wither and die? Do not write, "I need more money." That is a symptom. Ask why you struggle with money. Is it a belief that you don't deserve wealth? Is it a crippling fear of taking risks? Do not write, "I procrastinate." That is an apostle. Ask what you are avoiding. Is it the fear of judgment on your finished work? The terror of facing your own limitations? Be brutally honest. Dig past the surface level anxieties. Find the root. The source. The prime mover of your suffering. This is your personal God hand. Write its name. Give form to the shadow. This act of identification is the first, and most crucial, act of rebellion. Step 2. Practice temporal distancing. Envision your centenarian self. Visual. The silhouette of the person now sees an older, wizened version of themselves appear before them, a ghostly but powerful image. The elder figure places a hand on their shoulder. The next time you feel the panic of the tyranny of the now, a sudden deadline, an unexpected conflict, a surge of social anxiety, I want you to perform this mental exercise. Stop. Close your eyes. Take one deep breath. Now, transport your consciousness forward in time. Imagine you are 100 years old, sitting at the end of a long and storied life. You are frail, but your eyes are clear, filled with the wisdom of 1,000 battles won and lost. From this vantage point, from the peak of your existence, look back at this present moment. Look back at this specific problem that feels so all-consuming. And ask that wise, ancient version of yourself, how much will this truly matter in the grand tapestry of my life? And what action, taken now, will I be proudest of when I look back from this final shore? The answer will come. It will cut through the noise and the panic like a blade. The trivial will reveal itself as trivial. The path of integrity, the long-game choice, will become illuminated. This is how you borrow perspective from your own future, and break the emotional grip of the present. Step 3. Forge your Behelit sword. Develop your key leverage point. Visual. A close-up of a blacksmith's hammer striking a glowing piece of steel on an anvil. Each strike refines the blade, making it stronger and sharper. The Skull Knight did not fight the God Hand with a common sword. He forged a weapon from the very essence of their power, the sword of Behelits. You must do the same. Look at the God Hand you identified in step 1. Now, ask yourself, what is the single skill, resource, or character trait that, if I developed it to a masterful level, would give me the most leverage to wound or even defeat this core problem? If your God Hand is a deep-seated social anxiety, your Behelit sword might be the skill of public speaking or storytelling. If your God Hand is financial chaos, your sword might be the deep knowledge of investing and budgeting. If it is a lack of discipline, your sword is the unbreakable habit of daily meditation or rigorous exercise. Once you have identified your sword, you must commit to forging it. This is the most difficult part, because it requires you to defy the tyranny of the now every single day. You must carve out time to sharpen this blade, even when, especially when, the small fires are raging around you. Just 30 minutes a day, dedicated to this one leverage point. It will feel counterintuitive. The urgent will scream for your attention. But you must remember, you are not a firefighter anymore. You are a weaponsmith, preparing for a war that truly matters. Step 4. Recognize the ripening moment. Adopt the watcher's mindset. Visual. The Skull Knight, perched unmoving on a cliffside, watching events unfold below. His gaze is intense, patient, and analytical. The final step is to shift from a state of constant reaction to one of poised observation. You have identified your enemy. You are forging your weapon. Now, you must learn to watch the flow of causality in your own life. Instead of impulsively jumping into every situation, learn to pause. Ask, how does this event relate to my God hand? Is this a distraction, or is this an opportunity? Is this just another apostle, or is this a crack appearing in the fortress wall? You will begin to notice patterns. You will see how your core problem sets traps for you. You will also begin to see moments of unexpected opportunity, a chance conversation, a sudden insight, a moment of weakness from your inner demon. These are the ripening moments. And because you have been forging your Behelit sword, when that moment arrives, you will be ready. You will not hesitate. You will strike with a clarity and force you have never known, not with frantic energy, but with the calm, devastating precision of 1,000 years of waiting. Phase 5. The proof. Visual. A montage of the Skull Knight's key interventions in the story. His shocking appearance at the eclipse, saving Guts and Casca. His attack on Femto at the Tower of Conviction. His sword strike tearing a rift in reality. Each is a moment of immense impact. This is not mere theory. This is a strategy proven on the darkest of canvases. Look at the Skull Knight's actions throughout his long war. His interventions are exceedingly rare, but they are always cataclysmic. He does not waste his time protecting a village from a single apostle. Instead, he appears at the exact moment of the eclipse, the absolute nexus of causality, to save the two individuals who might one day possess the will to challenge the God hand. He doesn't engage Griffith's Kushan armies directly. Instead, he waits for the moment Griffith solidifies his physical form and strikes directly at the God being himself, an act of such audacious focus that it literally breaks the world. His success is not the point. His methodology is the lesson. He demonstrates that a single, high-leverage action, perfectly timed and aimed at the causal root, is worth more than 1,000 years of frantic, low-leverage struggle. This principle echoes through the annals of our own world. The great strategists of history understood it. It is the core of strategic patience, the doctrine that guided nations through decades-long Cold Wars, focusing on economic and ideological pressure, the causal focus, rather than constant, draining military conflict. It is the philosophy of the master investor, who ignores the daily noise of the market and waits with immense capital for the one fat pitch, the one ripening moment that will make a fortune. The Stoic philosophers spoke of this 2,000 years ago. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." He was not speaking of leisure, he was speaking of the squandering of our life force on the non-essential. On the apostles of anxiety and distraction. The logic is as unyielding as iron. Your will, your energy, and your time are finite resources. Every ounce of strength you spend on a symptomatic problem is an ounce you cannot spend on the causal one. The tyranny of the now promises the illusion of control, the fleeting satisfaction of a problem solved. The Long Defiance offers something far more real, and far more terrifying, the responsibility of true agency. It is the choice to stop being a pawn in your own story, and to begin, however slowly, however painfully, to play the game as a king. Phase 6. The call to action. Visual. The final shot is of the Skull Knight, standing on his peak once more. He turns his helmeted head slightly, as if to look directly at the viewer. The image is stark, grim, but filled with an indomitable sense of will. The path is laid before you. It is not an easy one. It is a path of solitude, of discipline, of learning to endure the screams of the present while you keep your eyes fixed on the horizon. Now, you must take the first step. In the comments below, I want you to answer this, for yourself and for the others who walk this path alongside you. What is your God hand? What is the one central struggle that, if you could confront it, would change the entire landscape of your life? Name it. Do not be afraid. Give form to the shadow, and you rob it of its power. If you, too, are a struggler walking the long path, if you find a home in the shadows and a purpose in the fight, then you have found your sanctuary. Subscribe, and join the legion of those who refuse to be mere ripples in the current of causality. The Skull Knight understands the flow of fate, but there are those who seek to not merely understand it, but to weaponize it for their own gain. To truly master this long game, You must understand the methods of the enemy. Click here to watch our analysis. Griffith's Shadow. The psychology of a perfect villain, and learn to recognize the currents of fate when they are being manipulated against you. Struggle on.